Our third reader tonight is Ashton Darracott. Ashton is a young Meanjin and Gubbi Gubbi country student studying creative writing and law at QUT. When she's not travelling, she's daydreaming about it to escape her case law readings. Ashton writes fiction, poetry, essays, satire and creative non-fiction in a variety of genres. She has been published in Torts Illustrated, Glass Magazine and the George Street Journal, has read her work at the QUT Literary Salon before, and has forthcoming work in Urinal Magazine.
Hey guys, this is a short story called 7-Eleven. Someone is hiding bones on the shelves of my local 7-Eleven. Someone is cleaning up bones and tucking them to the backs of the racks, behind the jars of instant coffee, and at the bottom of the banana baskets. The first bone that I found was in one of the freezers, with all the pre-made meals. You know the ones. One night on the way home from campus, I needed to stop in because I'd run out of papers and couldn't wait to get home and roll an enormous, mind-numbing, day-relieving blunt. I also had remembered that I didn't have anything for dinner unless I wanted to eat cornflakes with sour milk. I picked out a butter chicken frozen dish. I chose one with no spice and no vegetables. As I pulled out the box, I slowed, spotting something further down. It was slightly more yellow-white than the blinding blue-white of the wiry freezer baskets. And while I'm no medical student, I've seen enough Criminal Minds to know what the head of a long bone should look like. It wasn't an especially big one. My guess was that it was a bone from the arm, maybe the ulna. Very skinny, very out of place. But otherwise, I paid it no mind. It was early November after all. Some kid using plastic bones in their Halloween costume probably came in with their parents to stock up on candy the night their street went trick-or-treating. It must have just fallen in. Why it would be in the freezer, I couldn't say, but I'm not one to pretend I know other people's business. I went up to the counter, bought the butter chicken, and asked for my papers. The cashier looked distracted, or tired. Same, dude. The sensor buzzer blared as I stepped back out onto the street and made my way home. The second was a little bit more innocuous. 7-Eleven sells ping pong balls, right? Someone had thrown the last beer pong ball over the fence, and no one had even sunk a cup yet. Joey was walking the perimeter of the store while I ventured into the aisles. Behind some bottles of Armour All, 3 small white objects glinted dully back up at me. They couldn't have been any bigger than a small, thick screw. Fingers. The tip of the finger. Part of me wanted to touch them, measure them against my own nails. Part of me wanted to vomit. All of me wanted to hide them. I grabbed a packet of pea plates off the hanger and propped it up like a little tent over the top. I was quite drunk, so I had to close one eye to get the plastic to cover them properly. 7-Eleven, turns out, doesn't sell ping pong balls. It became a waking nightmare after that. Each time I'd go in, to get more papers, stock up on fruit juice, replenish my Band-Aids, pop in for condoms on the way to a date, there was always a different piece of the puzzle. There was also never more than one of the same bone. Before long, I realised I was always watching the news, waiting for something to confirm my findings in the 7-Eleven. A missing persons case, a murder case, unlawful amputations. Nothing ever emerged, so I never approached the police. The day that I found what looked to be a short section of vertebrae under the apples, I called the cashier over. God damn it, I just wanted to buy some sunscreen in peace. Hey ma'am, I gestured to the basket. You see that as well? The cashier squinted, leaning down. Oh shit, he trailed off. Finally, answers. I wasn't crazy. There was a serial killer on the loose, in my neighbourhood, doing whack shit like scrubbing up bones and scattering them through petrol station convenience stores. I started to ask what we were going to do. The cashier cut me off. There's maggots eating this apple. He picked up a smallish apple towards the bottom of the basket and inspected its surface. His wrist cracked as he twisted the rotting fruit. Thanks, mate. I stared into the basket, then looked up to stare at him. I almost asked about the literal partial spine sitting right next to the rotted apple, but the door buzzer screeched and a customer walked in. He approached the counter and reached down into his pocket. He pulled out his wallet and slid out his credit card. The cashier quickly slunk behind the counter. Yeah, just at number 4. Cheers, man. Beep. Need a receipt? Nah, it's all good. The customer turned around and took my probably paper-white expression in for a second longer than usual. The buzzer blared. Car doors clicked unlocked. A shadow moved across the lot. The cashier looked at me behind the clear counter screen, wide-eyed and cautious this time. I didn't buy any apples, and I forgot the stupid sunscreen. The buzzer splintered off in my eardrum as I rushed out the door. When I fell asleep that night, I dreamt I was badly sunburned. I couldn't remember how I'd gotten the sunburn, but when it peeled all the way down to the bone.